Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals. Welcome to another Heart of the Swarm beta cast. Today we have got a ZvT. Let me introduce the two players. One of course is apparently a good sir, the other one also a good sir. So in the bottom left, as the red Zerg player, we do have former EG player, LzGamer. And in the top right, his opponent, Axslav. So, Axslav v LZ. It is gonna be pretty fun. And, yeah, apparently Axslav learning Terran. So this should be a pretty fun game. Although, Axslav apparently been mostly playing Terran in HotS. I'm just reading the chat as if, in case any of you can't actually read it. But yeah, yeah, it's all pretty good. So, what should we be expecting from these two then? Well, LZ should be a 15 hatch. Followed up by a 16 pool is the most likely opening. It's just a really strong build to go for, it works really effectively, and there's no reason you wouldn't go for it. Axslav, he's got some different options, and that makes things more exciting for me as a caster anyway. And those options really range from going for something like a 1-Rax into a command center. You can get 1-Rax and an early gas to go into some Reapers. You can also go for a very quick, say, Hellbat drop into the main. There's different options that you can do. There's some also really nice Hellion Widow Mine contains that can be very effective. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing what Axslav is going to be throwing out there up against LZ, what he can manage. LZ, of course, he's got different options as well. Roach Hydra, really strong in the mid game. Really good, and then you get in some Vipers towards the end for some blinding clouds on the tanks and the Marines, and that's just all fun times. And then if you don't want to go for that, you can try and go with Swarm Hosts. I've seen some Zerg players experimenting with it. Really, they're a lot stronger against Protoss, to be honest. Against Terran, they're very situational because a high tank count, which is also common with mech being so useful and such a good strategy at the moment. And as a result of that, the Locust just gets shelled to death. And what you want to do is, well, if you do go Swarm Host as a Zerg player up against the Terran, then make sure you spread your Swarm Hosts out. Don't just clump them all together like here and rally all the Locusts. You want to actually try and spread them out as wide as you can so you get a better arc on those Locusts so they don't all clump up. Also try and go from multiple angles is obviously good. Once you get Vipers out, Blinding Cloud on the tanks makes them way better. But you can actually contain each other. Well, I say contain each other, you can contain the Terran player for quite a long period of time because you can stop them moving out even with a mech army and then really just transition into whatever you want. Ultralisks, very strong in Heart of the Swarm. They do so much damage, they're so good. And as such, LZ, he's just got a lot of different options, and I'm hoping you're starting to see that actually this is turning out to be a really cool expansion. So, talk a little bit about the game rather than just all the hypothetical what-ifs that could be going on. Axslav, he went 1-Rax, no, he went CC first, into a gas, into a Rax. So, very interesting build he's going for there. Gonna mean he's got a good amount of gas, he can get a Reaper out right about now, or he can just start a very early factory. It's up to him. Considering the 100 gases out, I'm thinking it's gonna be a factory, and as such, some early Hellions or Widow Mines could be coming out. There we go. All looking fine. LZ, though, he's getting out 6 Zerglings. They're just going to go and take some map control, potentially harass this, try and get a few SCV kills. And since we see that there is only one... Actually, no. There is no Marines on the field at all. 0. Zilch, nothing. A reactor coming down on the barracks, so there is still going to be 0. Zilch, nothing. The Orbital Command being forced to lift. Get back out of there, because this just means that LZ... I'd say these Zerglings have definitely paid for themselves now. They haven't done much damage, but they're stopping this base from muling or from producing SCVs, keeps the work count a bit lower. Also, means it's got to float back down there. It's just generally a bit frustrating. The additional 8 may be a few too many, but as we see, there's still very few units. A repair is going to have to go down fairly quickly. This is wasted mining time, wasted minerals as well. And as such, this is just good aggression. It's also letting LZ see precisely what's going on with his opponent. Switching over now, going to start some Hellion production. If we look at LZ's vision, he can actually see that coming down, so knows exactly what his opponent is doing, knows it's going to be some early Hellions. And it's just wasting a lot of Axslav's time with this aggression just pushing in. Meanwhile, he's droning behind it, getting all 4 gas up at 44 supply. That is pretty early. He is supply blocked as well, though, so needs to build an Overlord pretty pronto-like. And there we go, we've got it coming down. There's Zerglings now pulling back, knowing that, hey, Hellions are going to be out in a second, and they're just sitting ducks, should they stay there. And all in all, it's turning out to be quite a nice game. 2 drones in each gas, 3 and 1 there, so that's apparently leveling out. Where are the rallies on the individual drones? We'll wait to see. More Queens are coming out. That takes up to 3, so we should get some good creep spread. LZ will need to take his third base relatively quickly just to stay a base above his opponent. But we see now that starport coming down, that factory, the second factory I should say, coming down as well. There's no armory though. So, why you might be thinking, oh, what does no armory mean? It means that actually it's not going to be Hellbat too soon. This game was played out before the latest balance adjustment where you need the upgrade from the tech lab, but Widowmine drops very, very strong, especially if your opponent doesn't have detection, which LZ won't have for a while. He will do quite soon though, because his lair timing is relatively quick. So I'm interested to see what LZ is going to be doing with this really early lair timing and a lot of gas. He's already up to 300 gas, which screams that maybe it's going to be mutas, or at least some gas-heavy unit. It could potentially also be for a lot of swarm hosts very quickly. That's another possibility. 3 Widow Mines into that medevac, but a boosting medevac spotted by the Overlord. You know what that says? Drops incoming. Hopefully now LZ will be able to prepare for that. He may bring that queen up, we'll wait to see, but currently just getting up the double evolution chamber. So that gives a nice wall off at the front. Bit of a safety against those Hellions. The medevac on its way through, and now with the lair complete, it's just really waiting to see what text comes out, and it's going to be an infestation pit. So I'm definitely thinking swarm hosts are going to be on the cards for our red Zerg players. Some spore crawlers coming down. That gives detection and also basically just shuts down the Widow Mine drops really effectively. The Spine Crawler also there. In comes the boost. They're going to get dropped down as quickly as they can. Now, one volley from these Widow Mines will hit. There's nothing that you're going to be able to do about that. And there's going to be a lot of dead drones. And that is really quite problematic. But the Spore Crawler is now coming down. We saw 16 workers killed there. My goodness. That was a very, very good drop. Now the medevac boosting down. Going to try and get towards the natural. But realizing, hey, there's a lot of queens there. I'm just going to pull out. You can leave the Widow Mines actually around at various exits to the base, just in order to be frustrating. Try and deal some damage to, say, some speedlings that come out. We've got the 1 missile attack upgrades coming out, and enduring locusts. So a lot of swarm host play going to be coming in. Swarm host best, of course, in higher numbers. That's once they get to their critical mass, sort of 8, 10 plus. They become really solid and deal a lot of damage, so that is all very, very good indeed. Now, we see that the command center is on its way. We've got the additional factories, a pure mech style coming out at the moment for Axslav, and that is going to be countered up by a Nidus one. I know precisely now what LZ's doing. It is a brilliant strategy, and what it entails, let me explain to you, is that you get a lot of queens out, you get your you get your swarm hosts out, and then what you do is you chuck down all of the Nidus networks around here. So usually up in this sort of position, you then chuck out the swarm hosts, you chuck out those queens, you spread some creep, you burrow the swarm hosts, and suddenly your opponent has all of those swarm hosts right at your opponent, right at their natural. And it can be very, very difficult to deal with. Now, as we're seeing here, we have got some good play coming out from LZ. He is just busy moving all of his speedlings forward. He is just trying to regain the map control, knock out the watchtower vision, and just generally get a good idea that Widow Mine will detonate on one single Zergling. And here comes out the Nidus network, not being able to be seen by Axslav's vision. This is going to be very, very much of a shock to the Terran player. How many swarm hosts are out? Well, we can see that there's 4. Are the queens in there as well? Yes, 3 are. That means creep spread going to be coming. Out come the swarm hosts. They are burrowing down very quickly indeed. The planetary fortress morphing at the 3rd, but to be honest, it's not going to have much fun. Already we see that a good number of locusts coming out. The Widow Mine gets taken out. The Overseer is there as well to deal with that. And while the locusts do get taken out, 2 do remain. We'll finish off the rest of those Widow Mines. And now the planetary fortress just trying to complete. But this was a greedy 3rd. The tank is on the field, but with more and more swarm hosts getting chucked in, with more and more damage being done, this is going to take a lot of repairing, and with more swarm hosts on their way, with no detection, this is going to be difficult. The Battle Hellions, or should I say Hellbats rather, are doing some nice damage, and drops of Widow Mines, trying to get on top of that army as best it can. The scan likely to then go off fairly quickly, trying to deal with the swarm hosts, trying to deal with the locust. There's the scan. The planetary fortress is in range of some of those. In one of the swarm hosts there, it can hit. 2 go down there, and as such, this push being held back for the moment. Axslav doing a really nice job. The medevac gets taken down though with all of the Widow Mines in there, but these 3 tanks, the 4th now joining in, should push this back, but it's a good contain out of LZ. He is going to be able to keep his opponent pinned on this 3rd base for a long time. Unfortunately though, his own 3rd only just getting started now, and that just means that actually, economically speaking, Axslav, he's in an okay spot. 62 SCVs to 47 drones, far ahead. And these locusts have just got to do so much more. Swarm hosts coming out. The creep spread looking really quite nice. That's increasing their speed, but a second Knight is now coming down towards the natural base. So that means that LZ going to be going for another angle of attack. The detection is non-existent at the moment, but of course the splash damage does look quite painful. The Nidus does get taken down. These swarm hosts now a little bit vulnerable. They're trying to get up and out of there ASAP. But what is going to be coming out of the other one? I can tell you, more swarm hosts. 4 at the moment, but we see more are in production. These 5, which are up at the top, unfortunately not going to be able to fall back. The tank's now moving across the map. The third base is about half done for LZ at the moment. The Vikings scouting that was very late. Drilling claws coming down for the Widow Mines as well. Axslav desperately trying to use as much of that as he can, but look at this Locust coming towards the natural. A lot of this supply depot wall off is gonna melt. Just watch how quickly this all starts dying. And where are you going, Locusts? Come back, come on. You want to kill all of this. That's what you want to do. The tank gonna go. Look at how much DPS these do. They hit 13 damage every 0.8 seconds. That is indeed an incredible amount. And some SCVs are not coming to repair, unfortunately, and that means that 2 supply depots go down. These additional command centers are probably going to get taken out and forced to cancel. Meanwhile, the swarm hosts up towards the top of the third base have now got taken out. They're rebarring though. They're trying to just keep those units pinned back, but we can see that even though a tank is sieged up there now, a good number of swarm hosts are able to do some nice damage. Some spore crawlers and a spine crawler coming down here as well, just in order to try and give detection for any widow mines that could be coming in. The swarm host retreating with good micro. Swarm host micro just consists of you burrow, wait for a wave of locusts to spawn, rally them somewhere, unburrow, move. And that is how you get them away, using the locust as a shield. But this natural base is taking quite a lot of damage. Axslav is currently supply block. He doesn't even have any more supply depots in production. The tank trying to deal some damage, but the Hellbat's taking a lot of fire. And well, that tank could be running into some problems. Another Nidus network is on its way down. So those Nidus ones are becoming very, very potent. The tank is now taken out of the natural. That lack of splash could really hurt. Some more tanks trying to come in, but 1 gets taken down. 2 probably going to get taken down. All 3 likely to die here. And even with the scan, unfortunately, the tanks do just die, so there's no damage coming out. Seriously, LZ is looking to be in an amazing spot. More swarm hosts coming out towards the third base as well. This is now a stupidly high number of swarm hosts. 17 on the field, completely containing this Terran player who's unable to get up a sizable number of tanks to deal with him. Only 1 on the field. And well, as we can see, the planetary fortress is taking a lot of damage. SCVs trying to get pulled back, trying to repair it up, but the health of it is just about managing to stabilize, but this is using a lot of mining time and a lot of resources to hold it up, and just wave after wave of these locusts are coming. We can see LZ being nearly 4 times more cost effective than his opponent. That is how good free units are. The 4th base coming out behind this as well. What do you do as a Terran in this situation? It's tough. I just really wish LZ, or rather that Axslav was going for some drop play. I think that's the way you standardly beat contains. Is you drop your opponent, because if you look back, there's very little in the form of defense here for LZ. He could get back with the Nidus, but potentially a lot of damage could get done. The planetary fortress is just having to be constantly repaired and is actually losing health. If this goes down, Axslav is going to be in a massive amount of problem, but a Hellbat drop coming down on all of these swarm hosts with the scan means that a lot of them are getting burned up. The locusts are cleaning out the final bit of damage, but the trouble is that a lot of those swarm hosts are already dead. The natural base still being pushed into. The Widow Mines are trying to clean it out, but they have a long cooldown, and that means that this is a 2-prong attack from units that are essentially free. And it's really becoming quite the problem. A repair coming down on this planetary fortress yet again. More swarm hosts joining their brethren up by this third base. The Locust still trying to stop any reinforcements coming through. Axslav, he cannot get units down to this third in order to try and hold off these Locusts. It's all up to the planetary fortress that is having to be repaired so quickly. Even though Axslav has additional workers, or more workers than that of his opponent, they're not doing that much. And now in comes the drop. Some Widow Mines coming down. The scan will probably hit as well very shortly, just trying to deal with that. But as we see, some good damage being done here, and the Widow Mines, they have triggered, but only 1 remains. The Spore Crawler there as well. Where are the spines? There they come down. That's going to help. This planetary fortress is the little one that... It's the planetary fortress that just will not die. Tanks up on the high ground. Widow Mines up on the high ground. They're just trying to make sure that these Locusts cannot get in any closer. But this third, it's just costing so much to keep it running. It's such a problem, and the lost mining time from the SCVs repairing, it's inevitable that it's going to die. Axslav just trying to last as long as he can, even getting high sec auto tracking there just to try and make it work a bit better. But as the swarm host numbers count, the health on the planetary fortress starts to diminish. Behind this, of course, we do see that LZ is just producing nothing but swarm hosts, so many. He's also getting out his hive, +2 missile attack, pathogen glands coming down as well. But that compared to Axslav, who really is just trying to put up with this relentless assault. He's getting more Widow Mines out. He's trying to find ways to deal with these Locusts as fast as he can. But we're now up to a grand total of 25 swarm hosts. They become so effective en masse. and it just becomes near impossible to really deal with it. The Locusts are just sending wave upon wave. The tank's trying to move down now to finally secure this third base and make sure that the relentless attack does stop, but it's just looking to be so hard. Even with the tanks there, they don't take the Locusts out that quickly, and as such, we just see the Widow Mines having to do most of the work outside the natural. A single tank there now, and that will help, but the tank taking some damage, the shells coming through, the Widow Mines trying to clean out as many of these Locusts as they can, but now with the tanks getting taken out, the reinforcements dying, the third base still wave upon wave on its way through, the tank's trying to hold everywhere at once. Meanwhile, LZ, he's getting up nicely, he's up to 66 workers, he's getting some infestors out now, indeed, too. And those infestors are quite an interesting thing, maybe going for just some infested Terran eggs, just to try and soak up some more of the damage. Otherwise, just going to go into Broodlord Infestor that we all know and love from Wings of Liberty. That tank on the high ground doing a nice bit of damage, but still, what does Axslav do? He can't afford to really leave, or try and move out, because then the swarm hosts will just reburrow and start doing some more damage. He's just pinned back. He's got additional orbital commands. His income is looking quite good, but he's just not taking the supply advantage. He's at 120 compared to the 170, or what a bit for LZ. And LZ, he can just keep doing this, wave after wave after wave, and there is nothing that Axslav can do until he takes out those swarm hosts, which just isn't going to be an easy move. The Widow Mines and tanks doing a good job of trying to zone out his opponent, and now moving forward, but as we can see, with the Observer there, all the vision granted, but it does get taken down, and, well, Overseer rather. The Spore Callers are now also granting vision. The tank's trying to get a bit closer. Could see a good scan come down in a second to try and pick those off. Axslav desperately trying to break the contain, but to be honest, LZ, he can just waddle his way backwards with those swarm hosts. And, well, as we see, the Widow Mine trying to do some good damage. The swarm host moving back, just still spawning more. You have to reset the rally point every time, which is something that LZ has to get used to doing. But the Greatest Spire now finished out. We've got some Corruptors there. Most likely going to see some Broodlords very shortly. With those Broodlords coming out, to be honest, Axslav is going to be in some major problems. He's got no anti-air on the field at all. He's literally just got tanks on Widow Mines, no Marines. And that means once those Broodlords get over, he could be in some serious problems. Here comes the Corruptors. They're most likely going to start morphing very soon into the Broods. And with only 2 Vikings on their way out now, this is going to be incredibly difficult. Those few Locusts are managing to push through into this tank line, and as the tank numbers diminish, it gets harder and harder to stop them. More and more tanks will die, and we can see that just 2 on very low health. Meanwhile, Locusts still trying to come up, pick up a reinforcing tank there. The Broodlords are morphing, 7 of them now. The Infestors there as well, and this is just looking to get ever worse for the poor Terran player. LZ, he is just doing an amazing job. Look at how more cost effective he's doing. 17,000 resources lost for the Terran compared to just 5,000 for LZ. In swarm hosts, so good if you get them in a good position, as LZ has right now. And the Broodlords, they could just be the finishing touch. They're going to help take out the tanks straight away, knocking them down, unable to take them out on their own. The Viking count, well, it's at 2. 2 Vikings, soon to be 4, is not going to be enough to deal with those Broods quickly enough. And now we see the pressure coming in. The Locusts, the Broodlings, they are getting rained down. They are dealing damage to this planetary fortress. The Widow Mines getting taken out. The Raven trying to come forward. There we see the couple of Vikings on their way. Where are the Infestors? Going to need some infested Terrans. The planetary fortress is finally going to go down. It held on for oh so long. There's the infested Terrans. A couple of Seeker missiles coming out, but good splitting by LZ rather, means that he doesn't lose anything. And there is the GG from Axslav, and what a very good game by LZ. Axslav, though, not to take anything away, he did an amazing job holding on for so long. It was so tough, but the Broodlords just tipped him over the edge. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like the video, leave a cool comment and subscribe, and I hope to see each and every one of you tomorrow for yet another new cast. Bye for now.